Hello and welcome back to Unpopular People. We believe that listening and learning from each other is key for personal development and success. Today in our interview, Michelle. Michelle was born in Mexico City, but she lives in Oaxaca now and manages a hostel here. She also is an actor, but you will find out more about her in this interview. If you want to find out more about Unpopular People, please visit our website www.unpopularpeople.com and sign up for our newsletter to join our Unpopular People community. And now enjoy this very inspiring and interesting interview with Michelle.
Hello. Yeah.
Hello, Michelle.
Hello.
How are you today?
I am doing good. A bit nervous.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
all right. I'm a bit nervous too. I'm always nervous. Every time I do this interview with whoever it is, I'm always nervous.
Yeah, you never know.
But to break the ice a little bit and also for our listeners to get to know you a little bit better, maybe you can tell us where were you born, how did you grow up, maybe tell us a little bit about your childhood, like your earliest childhood memory or something like that.
Okay, well, my name is Michelle. I was born in Mexico City. And I have plenty full of stories to tell, I guess. I think that it's kind of an interesting background because my mom is Muslim and my dad is truly agnostic. And both of them, their families are made of immigrants who decided to start living in Mexico. So kind of it has been always like a search for identity throughout my life because I never felt like I belonged somewhere because I was always different in a way. But at the same time, I think that in Mexico, that's what our identity is. We are all mixed and we never know truly where do we belong to. Some communities in Oaxaca do know where they come from and they consider themselves basically nations. They have their own language, they have their own clothing, they have their own traditions, their own food. So that's why I decided to come in here to Oaxaca. My childhood was wild. I have plenty of different tutors. So I think that in a way I learned a bit of everybody, and these people came from different backgrounds, such as my grandparents. I think that the earliest and dearest memory I have, it comes from my grandparents, who were kind of my parents at some point in my life. And I remember them going to the market and carrying both of them the same bag, but like sharing the weight. And I thought, as a child, that I wanted to remember that. You know, I didn't intellectualize much, but I knew that meant something. And I think that follows me everywhere I go.
Interesting, yeah. And you said your parents are both migrants, and as far as I can tell, they're probably from different places. If your dad is an agnostic and your mom is a Muslim, so where do they come from, and what did they do? Like, why did they come to Mexico?
Well, they are half. Their families are half Mexican, and also they are half. My mom has some background of. How is it called? Well, in English, maybe it's called Marrakesh. I don't know. It's Morocco.
Yeah.
Morocco, and my dad, his family comes from Le Pays Basque, the Basque country, which is kind of Spain, but at the same time it's not. And there's like polarity in those terms. So I find it annoying because most people here in Mexico, for some reason, or in Mexico City, as far as I know, they always try to say, yes, I am Mexican, but my family is from Europe. And it has to do with colonization, right? So whenever somebody asks me, I try to avoid that question. I say, yeah, my family is from Mexico City.
Yeah.
And nothing really interesting, right? Because at the same time, it's kind of painful. Their families basically ran away from all the issues they had at some point. In a way, they both have the tendency to try to erase their past. So I don't know much about my background in those terms. Why are they here? From whom they were running from? What are they trying to deal with? They are always hiding at some point. And I think I have that same trait, maybe. And race and religion, and it has always been like an issue for me.
Was it a big discussion at home? Like, was your dad born in
They were both born in here. Their families are the immigrant ones.
Oh, okay.
So they consider themselves also really Mexican because they're truly, really, really Mexican.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
But I mean, if they were born in Mexico, they're Mexican.
Yeah.
I mean,
they
it's
are.
also. I mean, we're all born on the same planet, so we're all like people of the earth.
Yes.
I would say.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. And do you remember, were there lots of? I mean, you said your dad was an agnostic, so he was questioning his belief in Allah, or was he born in like from a Christian background, or?
Well, my dad has a Christian background, but since I was a child, I would ask him questions. And he will tell me, I truly don't know. And I don't want to lie to you. I don't know where do we come from. Yeah. I don't have any of those answers. And sometimes I doubt the things we were taught. And I remember that was like kind of confusing, but I accepted it. And even though he's agnostic, I think he's always curious about other religions. And that's maybe why he married a Muslim woman. My mother, she comes from a really religious upbringing. And when she got pregnant, she was young. She was about 18 years old. She was kind of, I don't know how it said, expelled, you know? Yeah, like ostracized from her community. So basically she was all by herself. She had doubts. She was like left alone. And then she met lots of people, and one of those was my dad. And she decided to be agnostic as well. And when they had me, they decided that I wouldn't be baptized. I wouldn't like follow any religion until I was like old enough to choose what I wanted to believe in. And I think I'm agnostic as well. Because I remember my mother would bring me to the Buddhist temple that there is in Mexico City, because she was trying to find answers, and I think I really enjoyed that part of her, trying to not to worry a lot on afterlife or gods or deities, but rather how to live in the present moment.
Nice.
And for me, that was something that remain in my mind and in my life. Like, what is real are the concrete actions you take and the consistency you have throughout the time in your life. You know, your obsessions are the things that you are. You know, today I might say really nice stuff about the good things I do, and maybe tomorrow I will do something that is the opposite. And I know maybe I was lying because the things just changed from one day to another. But I know that the things in which I'm consistent, my obsessions, that's who I am. You know, even if I like it or not, that's who I truly am.
Cool. Yeah. No, that sounds very nice and very fair of your parents to give you this choice when you're grown up. So, and do you have any siblings?
Yes, I do have 2 siblings.
What do they do? Like, do they have like the same opinion about your parents, or are they like living different lives?
They it's really complex because my older sister, she has another dad. We don't know him. He's her biological dad. He just disappeared. You know, like something common throughout the world, actually. You know, abandonment from the dad side. And she's kind of my mom. Nowadays, she's again really religious. She's like truly trying to be a good Muslim, and my sister is also kind of following that path. She actually is an engineer. She knows a lot of stuff, but she is basically a mom, and I think she's happy with that role. But at some point, I think that she has some frustrations. I think that that's something painful, that she's truly intelligent, but her family treat her as if she was like dumb. And it has nothing to do with my mom's religion, because her husband is Christian or Catholic. I don't remember that well. You know.
Okay, and so you live in Oaxaca now. So I mean, there's a lot of years in between. Not a lot of years. You're not super old. Some years, yeah.
Yeah, some years.
So what happened? Like, did you go to like a normal school? Did you go to university, or did you have another apprenticeship? And like, what happened? Like, what happened after you were born?
Okay, so my mom is truly intelligent. She's an accountant, and she knows how much someone who is an immigrant struggles, because in her family she saw how they couldn't communicate with the society they were trying to blend in. So she was really hard on me since I was a child. She just forced me to learn English, and they tried to make me learn also French. I just didn't want to learn French when I was a child.
I understand. I hated French too. Worst subject at school.
They have like nice literature, but it's kind of hard to write it. You know. So and the sounds. It's really hard. It's really hard.
Yeah.
But I was a really, really, really good student. My mom paid my education. Basically, I went to private schools throughout my life until I was more or less like 14 years old. Then I started to learn in public school, which is cool. And then I changed my whole worldview. You know, I could see reality, and I could get to meet people from all over Mexico. Eventually, I started studying in a high school that it's public, but it's really famous because of UNAM. UNAM is a really famous university in Mexico and in Latin America, because it's one of the biggest ones.
Okay. And wait 1 second before you said you changed your whole worldview. Like what changed it?
What changed? I was truly superficial when I was like 14. Well, in a way, because I was like all about reading like magazines for teenagers, and I was like hanging around with people who would have more money, but it had like a really superficial, hollow way of seeing things and judging people. And of course, I wasn't part of that elite. I was just studying in the same school, you know. And afterwards, when I was able to study in a public school, I get to meet people who is constantly trying to survive on a daily basis, and it's like taking lots of effort to learn and to continue. And I could see their parents struggling, and that contrast for me was everything. You know, I got to like reevaluate my views, and I thought that it was unfair that some people I don't know, like it sounds cliche, but it's true. Like they cannot even eat, and it's a human need. And suddenly you see people who is like truly comfortable, and it's okay. And I think it's good that they are comfortable, but also I cannot feel comfortable if I know someone else is suffering. And
did you feel guilty? Like, was this like the main feeling you had, that you were like feeling guilty that you got the opportunity to go to such a school, and other people that don't even have the opportunity to get proper food? Or?
No, I don't think it's good, because, well, okay, I was a rebel, and you know, in Catholicism and in Islam, there's like such a deal with guilt, right? I think I am oversimplifying stuff, but I never liked that view of like feeling guilty. I think we are accountable. We're not guilty. We're accountable for our actions, and I thought that if I had the chance, someone else should have the chance, and we should like try to, if we have it easier, we should like try to help them. Of course, I didn't really truly have it easier. My mom had a good job at some point, and then she resigned because of racism and machismo in her company. It was a Spanish company, so she was dealing with lots of men who were like from Spain, and patriarchy exists everywhere. And she was done. She was burnt out. She was trying to exploit herself to pay the bills, and I understand her. And then I was able to see my reality. I was like in a mirage, inside of like an illusion, and then I could see my reality, and I could see I was closer to my peers at school. Eventually, we had it harder. So that's when I was able to like feel just the same as everybody else. And I think it's kind of unfair that at some point it was well earned, but at the same time I was lucky to be born in Mexico City, because we have a huge university, but not everybody is able to study. So there are like very few spots. You have to have like a really high rate, and then if you do not achieve that rate in your tests, you cannot study, and that's horrible.
And this world for you developed there, like from being a rebel, as you call it. Do you remember a certain, like a person, a role model or a mentor that you had during this time that were like helping you to get on this path you wanted to be? Or did you figure it all out by yourself?
Well, it depends. Like when I was a child, I was like spending a lot of time by myself, and I had the books of my grandparents. So I think that first my friends were the TV, of course, but also the books that my grandparents had. I think it was not really proper for me to read first Kafka, I remember, but I was like, I identify with this dude, being a cockroach, and I don't know, I think at some point it messed up with my life. And also I think that philosophy for me damn.
Yeah, for the listeners, we are sitting in the courtyard of her hostel, and there are sometimes cars going by, like with happens. Like very loud engines. So, yeah. But anyways, please continue.
Yeah. Well, I was how is it called? Like a bookworm at some point, and I thought that philosophy was amazing. Actually, I really liked German philosophers, and they had books of them.
Did you read them in English, or are there Spanish versions of it?
English and Spanish, some versions. So I think that the one that I really liked was Schopenhauer. Strangely enough, Camus. Yeah. He's from France, but he's good also. Camus, Schopenhauer. At some point Nietzsche. Then I didn't really like Nietzsche. I think Spinoza. I don't know how is it pronounced. Leibniz. I think Voltaire also. He's important because he would focus on the land, on the concrete actions. And then I got to learn more about other type of philosophers. I think Marcus Aurelius was really good. It's a cliche, but it really helps you. Like,
absolutely. No, I totally agree. I think it's great. Like, those are very, very important people.
Yes. Then I started to read like about Lipo, Lao Tse. I think Machiavelli is good. I mean, like, he's misunderstood, but he's intelligent.
Yeah. And you can get a little bit out of everything. You don't have to agree with all the things, Like, I mean, some people see some of the books like the Bible, and I think that's not the right way. I think you should always take everything with a grain of salt, as you would say in English. and there's so much good information out there. And if you gather this information and you find like your right path, and you say like you had this kind of, I don't know if you can call it awakening or whatever. Yeah. But great.
At first it was like I was so focused on those philosophers, and I thought I was like more intelligent than everyone else. And then I got to learn about people in real life and philosophers that aren't academics, but they are like philosophers in their own way. But I had like lots of ego when I was younger, when I was like 15, 16. And then I understood that you can learn from... yes, I remember. So I was really against religion, because I was against my mom, because I had issues with my mother and authority.
And you're a rebel, so.
And I was kind of because it was a way of survival.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got to meet someone who is really religious, and for me I was against it because I had an issue with my mother, etc. And then he taught me about the Bible, but without prejudices and without like dogma,
Mm-hmm.
which I thought was super interesting because I read this part of the Bible, which is Job, or Job, I don't know how to pronounce it, that it's this man who was the best follower of God. And one day he started losing everything he knew.
Mm-hmm.
He was really blessed because he was an amazing follower of Yahweh, Elohim, however you want to call him, in that tradition. And suddenly it was a bet between God and Satan or something.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he starts losing everything, he suddenly asks the deity, like, why is this happening to me?
Mm-hmm.
Which is kind of a sin. Why are you asking God this type of questions? And then he had to go through the levels of interpretation that are taught between Jews. I don't know how to pronounce it. It sounds like Hugo. But now it's like the religion,
Mm-hmm.
like Jews.
Yeah, the Jewish religion.
The Jewish. And it's El Tratado Gagigua, I think that's the name. And those are the levels of interpretation of their holy writings. Like the first one has to do with the literal sense. The second one is making relations between things, making links between things, you know. And if you make too much, you become crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to start doubting yourself. So you become an ascetist, the one who starts asking questions and doubting everything. But if you doubt too much, then there's no fertility in there. You know, you're just always asking those questions that take you nowhere. And then at some point, you become a mystic because you accept a mystery. I do not understand. So the only thing I can do is accept that I do not understand.
Mm-hmm.
And that's basically love. Love is accepting that you do not know the other.
Mm-hmm.
And in a way, it's a dissolution of yourself. So when he told me that, I was like, okay.
That's a different perspective.
It's a different perspective. And I was like trying to really know it all. And I was like, I don't know. I thought I was like more intelligent just because I read a bunch of books that I don't know if I truly understood them at that age because I was too young. And then I decided to learn from others. And the other day I was telling you about the traditions of some communities. And I think they know lots of stuff from the earth, and they see patterns. And I think that that's the key of learning sometimes, like patterns. Seeing the patterns in language, in sounds, and then you get to learn another language. You see the patterns in how someone does something. That's technique, you know, and as you said, like repetition is perfection. It's just like learning the pattern. Or like intuition is basically noticing the patterns and then being able to deduce something out of it.
Yeah, that's also, I think, praying is something like this, because you don't, I mean, you do your praying, but it usually contains like the same words, you know. And I think it's very interesting because what you just said now with repetition is perfection, or like I sometimes say repetition is the mother of skill. But this is a way of learning to believe in something as well, I guess. And yeah, cool. No, that's a very, very interesting perspective on religion.
Yes, and dreams, I don't know, like in a way, like if you're able, that's what I like. For example, I think maybe I'm saying lies, I don't know, but as far as I know, there's like a book in Japanese that the translation is I think the mirror of man or something, because they believe that if you know yourself well enough, you know humanity, and the other way around. If you know history enough, you know yourself. So it's kind of, for me, it was important to get to know who I was by trying to properly listen without like judgment, without believing that they are less than me, without thinking that I know too much, because I got to learn that I knew very few stuff, and that I lived very few stuff. And for me, it was like a hard path of life. I won't hide it. My upbringing was really messy. I had different tutors. I had my grandparents with whom I learned lots of stuff. I think I have my core values thanks to them. I love animals because of them. I also do not judge people who eat meat or that kills their own animals, because they would upbring their pigs and sheep and rabbits and chicken, and it was hard for me to see them die because they were my friends. But I also understood that if you love enough these animals, you give them the best life possible, you kill them with compassion, and you eat everything because you're honoring their life. And I know that it's not the same with when we talk about overconsumption and these big companies, etc., etc. But I do understand the value of life thanks to them. And then I lived with my aunt and with my uncle, and then I lived with my parents, and then I lived with a friend of mine. And for a bit of time in my life, I thought it was like Lemony Snicket's A Series of Unfortunate Events book series, which is this bunch of orphans that are going from one home to another, and they never truly know. And then I understood, yes, there's no happy ending. You just learn to deal with your context, with the situations you were given. And I don't know, your context will never be ideal. You have to surf your way through life and learn to live with frustration,
Do you think this person this religious person that gave you a new perspective on the whole topic of religion, do you think it was maybe the reason that this person saw religion from a spiritual point of view and not from a religious point of view? Because I think there's
true.
a difference.
Yes, concepts. Yes, my right friend. Yes, I think he's really spiritual. At some point, he told me I'm a Christian, and I thought, oh my God, I was scared. I was really scared. But then I started talking. He's my best friend. I have 2 best friends. He's one of them. And then I think he has a nice thing going on. He's always learning. He's never judgmental. I was more judgmental than he was. I was more authoritative than he was. So I was like, I have to question myself. And afterwards, he started a journey trying to get to know nomads, like not digital nomads, but nomads. In here we have the Huijaritas, which they have different names, but they are people who are traveling around and coming back home, as if they were birds. And that's beautiful. And I think that they'll learn a lot. They're kind of guide or guide figure. It's called Maracame. And he decided to be I don't know how to say it. He wanted to learn from him. And at some point he told him you do you learn what you had to learn. You have your own path. And I was inspired by him, and also I decided to get to know lots of people from lots of backgrounds. And also the hardest part was getting to know my mom again, because we had a huge fight over religion and worldviews. And I think that there are things that are truly beautiful, just as Ramadan, which is there's a season in the year in which you do not eat because you need to
in daylight. You can't eat and drink in the nighttime.
And it makes you understand and feel empathy for others, because you know what's to feel hunger for real. And I love their sense of community, and I love how they believe in honesty, and I love lots of stuff about them. But at the same time, with my mom, it was really hard when abuse happened in our family, and I told her I can endure that, but not my sister. And at that point I became the black sheep. She's destabilizing our family. We are trying to go on, try to hide this, try to overcome this trauma by remaining quiet. And in my opinion, you can only change things with concrete action and saying things and naming them and understanding them. And even though they're painful, you have to see them. And that's something I really liked about Buddhism, because when I was really alone and isolated and lost, I remember watching or contemplating rather a book that it was given to me by a teacher of mine. She also teaches religion at college, and I think it's the female energy of Buddha, or like that type of state of mind, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And she had in the representation lots of eyes. And in the description it says that she wants to have as many eyes as she can, so she can see the suffering of the world.
Mm-hmm.
And she doesn't want to become enlightened unless everybody else is like becoming enlightened, like stop suffering. And I thought that for me that was everything. I felt accompanied by something,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And I started meditating by watching that image, and I knew that I that's compassion, and that's something we should all follow. Like, we cannot be blind. We should see the things that are uncomfortable and try to take action until everybody else like has a better life, maybe, or just like being just a little link, you know,
Mm-hmm.
a part of the whole, and you are like that part that is compromised to make a change. And that's why I do not believe in guilt. I believe in responsibility. Like, I won't feel guilty, because if you feel guilty, you do nothing. You just like hurt yourself. But if you take action, then you're accountable. You're responsible, and you try to change things, even though you maybe will fail, you know? Like, I don't remember that Greek story, but I'm going to like, it's from their mythology, but I'm going to like mistell the story. But there was this guy who lost his children against the sea. So he wanted to fight the sea, the absolute dumb man, right? And then he comes to the sea, and he knows he's going to die, but he pretends he doesn't know that, and he just enters the sea and fights.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what activists do in Mexico. They know they're going to die. They know that narcos are going to kill them, maybe. They know that the government is going to kill them, maybe. They know that maybe people will be too scared to support them, maybe.
Mm.
But they pretend they do not know that, and they go.
Mm.
And I think that's compassion and bravery and meaning. And then when I saw that type of people as Quetzalcoatl, the knowledge put into action, I knew that's actually wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
The books help, of course, but that's wisdom. And I want to cry out when I think of them, but they're really inspiring, and you get to know like wisdom in every form. Without reading, you can go outside and see a woman cook, and then you know that the way in which she cooks in the really specific way is just a little gesture, but you know that it was inherited by her grandmother and the grandmother of her grandmother, you know, and it's just like, for real. You think it's nothing, but if they do not do that in that exact way, the taste is different. And that's wisdom, and that's love, and that's compassion also.
That's what we're trying to do here, like with this project or with our podcast, Unpopular People, because this is something we realized in our lives as well. There's so many people out there, and you walk past so many people every day. Like, you see so many people every day, and every single one of them has a story to tell. And it's for me and for us, it's so confusing that the people follow like someone on Instagram, and they have millions of people following them, and they show you how to turn the light on and off in their super mansion, you know.
Yes.
And so like, yes, I think what you just said is very, very beautiful and inspiring. And I also want to know, you said in the beginning that you are always trying to find like who you are, your path and everything. And is this also the reason why you became an actor? Because as an actor, you can go in any role.
It's a very interesting that question, because I don't know why I became an actress, but I do remember like the conditions in which I was living. which basically I was like going through a rough time at college. I was feeling all by myself. I looked for some medical attention in the psychiatry department of my university. Like I had a miscarriage. I was left alone by my parents. The people that were studying alongside with me were really I first studied English language and literature, and they were like intellectuals. Like they know everything. So if they were like a glass and water was knowledge, it was overflowing. Like they couldn't learn anything else. They knew everything already. So I was like, this is not my community. I'm not feeling comfortable in here. What am I doing with myself? And then I saw the people that studies drama, like just like hanging around and laughing and doing exercise, and I was like, I hate them, you know? And I knew it was envy. And then I thought, might as well I will just have a leap of faith and I will try something new. And then when I took that leap of faith and I started connecting with my body, because when you act, you also basically learn how to breathe, how to use your body, how to exercise, how to take care of yourself, if you know yourself well enough, then you can have a huge range of acting. So you have to know yourself. And you need to have technique in your voice, and the voice is connected with your emotions. So for me, it was just knowing myself at some point.
Is it like meditation?
It's like meditation.
You have to be very conscious about, like, as you said, like your breathing, like your movement, like your everything you do in this particular moment, right? Is it,
yes.
Can you compare it?
Yes, it's like meditation. But at some point, it's more aggressive, like martial arts, which I love, actually. I love anger. Because there's something that they say that it's called transcansancio, which I don't know how to translate it.
Transcendence?
Transcending the pain of tiredness, which means that your mind is going to tell you, you cannot do it, you cannot do it, you cannot do it, you're tired, you're weak. But you keep moving and you keep exercising, and at some point, I don't know, maybe you know what your brain does, but your brain does something, and then you have a strength, and then you prove your brain that it was wrong and that you can do it, and then you do it like gladly, and then you enter the character because you are so tired of thinking that you just do stuff, and it's through actions that you can enter an emotion, and it's through like your body. I know there's like different techniques, of course, but the ones that help me the most have to do with the body. If I breathe in a specific way, I can get to feel something.
Do you have like an advice for other people that probably want to give up because like they are overthinking, they are caught in their own mind, if you can describe it like that? And like, is there anything like maybe a breathing technique that you use regularly, which helps you to get in this right mindset?
I think that walking is, you just tell yourself, go out of your room, and then when you go out of your room, you can get out of your home, and then you just try to put like some goal, like I will just go to the corner, and you start walking and breathing, and then you have to remember that you are never alone. You're always carrying the people you met, you're always with the wind, you're always near the earth, you're always seeing the sky, you will see the sun, you will listen to the noises of the cars, of the people that is breathing, laughing, crying. And then when you remember you're not by yourself, but you're part of everything else, it will be gone. Like, wait at least 90 minutes, and it will be gone. You know?
I always also experience that it helps me to appreciate the things that I have. Like, for example, this table we're sitting at right now, or like you said, if you leave your house or your apartment, I mean, most people didn't build this apartment themselves. Like, someone else built it for them. And if you like, this is probably what you were just saying. So you're never alone because everything around you is also there and was probably built by someone else. So that's a nice way on looking at it. And when you say like you breathe while you walk, do you have like a certain technique, or do you just are very consciously aware of like your breathing itself?
Well, do you imagine you have a balloon in your tummy, and then you try to get that air into that balloon, and then you're like, that balloon is becoming bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and then you hold it, and then you release it, and that's it. And it's so simple, but while you're alive, you breathe, and that's something cool. Like when I get like too scared or like too angsty, and I'm sleeping with someone else, I listen to your breathing, and I feel peace. Like, this person is alive, is by my side, it's doing good. Why am I worrying? You know? Or you listen to the laugh of somebody else. Or, you know, it's just feeling compassionate, I guess. Like, if you are truly compassionate, you can feel compassion towards yourself. So it's both ways. If you feel compassion towards yourself, you can feel compassion for others, and the other way around. And of course, it can be overwhelming. So you can be at some point like by yourself and just distract yourself. It's good. You know, as I told you, maybe it's just being in peace with, there's some chaos in the order, there's some order in the chaos, and both can make you feel really good. Like it's okay, there's a chaos, but I know that there must be some order in this chaos, so I should calm myself down.
Nice.
You know?
And so tell us about your recent projects as an actor, but I also, like you told us yesterday, that you have like many more things like going on at the moment. And also tell us a little bit about this place we are in here right now, like Niana Hostel.
I love Niana. Well, okay, so yes, long story short, I was plagiarized, COVID happened, many stuff happened. I had a really harmless brain tumor, but at first I was really scared, and then I knew it has to do with hormones. It's hypophysiary. Hypophysiary has to do with hormones and hypophyses, and I don't know how to say it in English.
Okay.
But anyway, after I was plagiarized and I was feeling like really sad, I decided I was moving on. Like, I do not want to live in that city anymore with lots of competition and with people.
That's Mexico City.
Yeah, Mexico City, which is huge as any other huge city. And there's lots of...
How many million people are there now?
I think maybe 20 million. I don't know. I should fact check this.
That's all right. I think it's 20 plus million. So
that's something like it's a lot. It's huge. Yeah. And when I saw somebody like so hungry to get like validation from the industry and stealing her friend, her work, I knew something was wrong. And that's not the type of environment I want to be spending my life in, and not with that people. So I went to Oaxaca, and then, it was just like I started working in Illana, which is like a guest house that it's truly eco, not greenwashing. It's truly eco. And then I could get to know lots of people and work with ethics. And I don't know, like I got to learn about earth, soil, how it works, how to compost, how to become aware of the amount of waste you're creating, and somehow it made sense to me. And I decided to have a little pause and leave, not trying to like get interesting experiences to make a character, or not trying to get into toxic relationships to become an interesting person and make your range like bigger. Because that's the ego of the artist. At some point I lost myself, and I was like just fooling myself thinking I was like an interesting artist, and collecting newspapers in which I would appear, and that's dumb. That's dumb. The artist should like be doing what you are doing, like getting to know people, being humbled. And then I decided to like think of my mother, and I remember she had like a huge poster that says the 90 names of Allah, because he has many names. And I thought, what are the 90 names of death? And I wanted to know about people and resilience and death and how they experience death. And I wanted, if there are many ways of living, there are many ways of experiencing or like theorizing about death. And I wanted to make a documentary theater play, because I didn't want it to be about myself, but I wanted to make something about us and maybe I will get like some answers that to somebody else will make sense, and maybe they will learn about the resilience of someone else and how they endured grief and loss and absence, and how do they get to live with that pain, because I also lost lots of stuff, and you get to learn how to... I think I went through social death. I was killed by as my mother lived that process. Like you are like kind of killed by your community. In my case, it was my family, because you're the black sheep, because I don't know. And
when was this? Like, how long is this ago?
Like 3 years ago. It's like kind of recent. Nowadays I am trying to make again like a link with my family. We're working towards like being at peace with each other, but it took some time. So for me it was like cohabitating loss. You get to know how to live side by side your grief and your loss and that absence, and then you get to accept it, and then accept the good things of life. But you have to go through that process. You cannot avoid it.
Those emotions, it's like unpredictable, and those things come up.
Yes, conditions are never ideal, but you get to live with them and laugh. And to learn to laugh, you have to learn how to cry and be okay with that, you know?
Okay, so and you you moved from Mexico City away because you were over it, and over the big city, and then you came to Oaxaca. And how did you get in touch with Niana and like with this whole project here they have here?
Well, I knew they were looking for people, and a friend of mine told me, because, I used to have like a really nice apartment in Coyoacán, which is a place in Mexico City for artists, and it was my dream, and, you know, the ego of the artist. So I had my dream, suddenly COVID happened, I couldn't go on a tour with the play I had, and then I no longer was the daughter of my mother and my dad at some point, you know? So I lost that. And then I no longer had my job, my dream job. So I lost that because I was my job. I was the actress, you know? Then I lost my partner when I got a bit ill. He couldn't handle it because he thought maybe it could be cancer. It wasn't. But he was like, never mind. So it was like shitty. And I was grieving because he was my only family at that moment. I lost my friend because she stole my play, which I thought it was amazing. And now that she just presented it, I think it's not that good. She did me a favor. So I no longer was that person who wrote that play. I wasn't the partner of that person. I wasn't the daughter of that person. I wasn't my job. Who I was, I had no idea. And then my savings went away by just paying rent because, you know, COVID. So I was like, fuck, you know what? So I was jobless, homeless, familyless, meaningless. And at that point, at that really low point of your life, you see that it's not that bad. Like, everything I was fearing happened, and I was still alive. And then I knew I had friends, and I knew that what I told you are never alone. So I just went out of that apartment with my luggages, and I knew I wasn't alone, and that I would just be vulnerable and be honest and be like, I'm homeless. Hello.
So that's like the meditation you said earlier. Like, this is what you literally did.
Yes.
Like, you left your place and overthought like this whole thing and said, okay, I try something else. I go along the street, I breathe normally, and see, and then I consider my options again.
And I will do concrete actions, absolutely. And then I was vulnerable and I was honest because I had this issue of never letting people know that I was in a bad place. And then I told my best friend, I'm really sorry, I'm really embarrassed about this, but this just happened. I was neglecting myself. I wasn't accepting reality. My money was about to be over. And I just have to accept that I need your help. And I was feeling helpless. And he was like, there's no issue, come here. And then another friend of mine told me, there's a hostel there. I know you were like not into this thing, but you could work as a volunteer. And I was like, oh damn, no, not me. But then I went there and I thought, well, it's an exchange. I'm working. for a few hours. I have like a nice place to live in, and then I started working. I was working too well, so they told me, "Wouldn't you like to like be an intern?" And I was like, "Okay."
When was this?
Like a year and a half ago.
So very
and
recent,
and then I really liked the party life. And I was like, I'm blessed, you know. And then I thought, this is going to corrupt my soul. And then I get to
it depends
listen.
what kind of party you do.
It was corrupting my body, my soul, because I was sleepless and I was like becoming again hollow, really, really hollow. And then I thought, I'm okay with this. I enjoy this thing, but I need now to calm down. And then a friend of mine told me about Niana. They were needing somebody, and I arrived in here, and I made amazing friends. Like, this place has magic, believe me. And I got to learn about, like, how much stuff I never knew about my own country and my society and the different societies that exist within my society. And now I don't worry about identity because I feel part of everything.
Tell us a bit more about Niana. I think for people, they heard it now a few times.
Okay.
And
They're like, what's that?
Well, what is it? What is Niana?
Well, Niana is a guest house, which is super interesting because it's, I don't know how to describe it. It's like, it has earth paint. So it's like, it literally has earth in their walls.
In the walls, yeah, like
yes,
everything around us here, like it's an open space. Just try to explain it a little bit with it looks like the walls are painted with soil, and you can even see like little pieces of like dried grass and stuff in it.
Yes.
And you have like different buckets. There are no rubbish bins in the rooms.
Yes.
So because everything is
it's kind of like a transition place, so people can become aware of the amount of waste we all generate.
Yeah, exactly.
And then we separate the residues, which it's hard because there's no consideration in Mexico system.
Yeah.
So it's like work that should be done, that sometimes it becomes like overwhelming, but then you think, it's worth it. And we have dry toilets that could be like overwhelming sometimes.
Or getting full.
But then you think, I'm not, contaminating.
It's not the end of the world.
It's not the end of the world. I'm not contaminating the sea. And actually, that it's going to become composted and used for soil.
Yeah.
And it's going to become like a good soil, that it's going to, like, the process of the earth should be respected and not like exploited. So it's like understanding its processes and how things should be harvested, and how not necessarily the things that you have to harvest are the best for your finances, but it's the best for the soil, so it can become, I don't know, like full of nutrients.
And you also use rainwater. The filter for the rainwater.
Yeah, we have a huge rainwater filter that can store like 30,000 liters of water from the rain. But when there's no rain, well, that's an issue. So, we have solar panels, but if it's, it has its pros and cons. But I think the pros are better at the cons.
Yeah.
And for me, it has been like a learning process, because I used to be just a random girl from the city who doesn't give a shit about the amount of trash she generates, and she just wants to be an artist, and then I reflect on that, and I feel really grateful, because I was able to connect with people who has taught me a lot, and that truly loves me for who I am, with all my, I don't know, doubts and issues, I guess, and virtues and
normal human behavior.
Yes. Human patterns.
And so, like, you also have a lot of plants in here, which I think is very nice. And you so, like, what is your position? Like, what do you do in here now? Like, you said you became an intern, and then now.
And now I am as long. I'm sorry, with just. Side by side with Ara. She also works in here. She's a friend of mine. She's amazing. She knows way more than I do about earth and soil, and she's like so I don't know, she's amazing. She's enduring. She's an enduring person, and she's super intelligent. She studied economics as you did, and now see her as such a hippie. Nah, but like a true hippie that doesn't look like a hippie, but is truly a hippie.
Yeah. Can still like economy and be a hippie. I'm at Steve Jobs.
Yes. We are like managers. We're managing this place, which is like such a plot twist, you know? You just want to study like acting, and you end up like managing this place,
Yeah,
and
it's cool.
and I feel amazing. And now I feel like I do art because of the sake of my soul, but also of sharing with others and learning from others and trying to get to connect people with other people, you know?
Yeah.
And I working here to like feel okay with myself, learn, and you know, make a good living, knowing that I am being ethical. You know, I'm not like working in the fast fashion industry exploiting people. I know that's not my path, and I'm okay with it. And also I teach. I'm a teacher, and I'm trying to make a project in which I can teach Spanish and English to like children and women, basically, that want to learn. It's not an imposition. It's someone who needs and wants to learn. And there's many people who wants to learn and cannot pay schools.
Sure. Yeah.
So for me, it's important to try to give what I have, not because I want to feel like better than someone else, but because I know that I hate that word, but I was privileged enough to have that education because of the work of my mother. And I want to give back what I was given by my mother and her hard work. You know?
And so you seem like a person that is very resilient first, and also who can easily, not easily, but maybe that's not the right word, but you read a lot of books and you had access to those books and had access to those to this information. What advice could you give to someone who probably doesn't have like such a strong resilience and maybe doesn't have the access to all those information? Maybe if you could like pick one book that you think is someone to start with, or maybe 3 books if this makes it a bit easier, like the first things that come into your mind. And also, what can someone do who's like, you know, falls deeper and deeper and deeper, like, and never really hits like the bottom, you know, like, because it's like it never stops to fall. So like what advice can you give to those people, if there is anything?
Well,
you've been through some rough times,
yes.
and you made it like out of it, as far as I can tell from my perspective. And I think that's very inspiring. And so I mean, like, can you say something to like other women in like similar age or like probably in similar situations and struggle to find themselves and all this? Is there something?
If you can, read Clarice Lispector or any writer that it's a female that went through a hard time. Like in Latin America, there are many Brazilian writers and Latin American writers that, but also Brazilian writers, like Black Brazilian writers. I think they have this word that is escrever, which means like surviving through writing. And later, maybe I will share with you the link of a book.
Yeah,
so
we
maybe
can put this all in the show notes.
Yes, so they can find it. But basically, I was reading through Hard Times, her book, and she said that she could be crying because of slavery and because of her family backgrounds. But whenever somebody died, they would make a party, and that happens in Oaxaca also. They're not like crying or mourning because that person died. They were celebrating that they get to know that person. And the fact that they found, even though she was exploited, even though she didn't have the space as others, maybe in terms of media or in terms of the institution or in terms of the intellectuals, maybe she's a mother, maybe she struggled a lot, but she took the time to survive through writing. Like, it doesn't matter if she was washing the dishes, if she was changing the diapers, if she was like working somewhere, cleaning the house of someone else. She took the time because she knew her voice was worth it. And I think that's something really important to keep in mind. Your voice, it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter how much you have, if you have too much or you have too little. you are worth it to be listened to, because you know something that maybe someone else doesn't know, and you can get to learn someone else. If you value your voice, you get to value other people's voices, and you get to learn something from everybody else, and knowing that you know something and people know something that you don't, so you can share.
Cool. Yeah, very nice. Beautiful set. I have many more questions. It's always the same, but we slowly come to an end for here now. But also maybe before I ask a few questions that we always ask our guests in the end, maybe you can let the listeners know where they can find out more about you. Is there any like place? I don't know if you use like Facebook, Instagram. We have a community as well where you can, of course, join us and people can ask you questions there. But is there any other platform that you like to use and where people can get in touch if you want them to get in touch with you?
Well, maybe, I mean, like, it's not like I have like fantastic content, but maybe they can find me on Instagram, and we can have a nice chat and share. And if they want to make like links and share their stories of loss, we can make like a communal project. That would be amazing.
Nice.
You know, besides drama, we can make like a good project to learn from each other. I think making a huge net of intelligence as bees would be fantastic, would be ideal.
Nice, yeah. There's a question that we definitely put your whatever you'd like to share into the show notes of on our website, so people can just click the links and go to your profile or whatever you are happy to share. You already answered one of the questions that we usually ask our guests, and it is because the show is called Unpopular People. We ask, what would you do if you were popular? And you were already giving like a good idea about like resilience and what people can do, and that was very beautiful said. Is there anything else that comes into your mind that you would like to share with the world if you had, always have your voice, but if everyone would hear your voice?
If I were popular, I would like to make meaningful connections with others, not as me being an icon or an idol, but rather making connections. And if I could, I will try to make people unite to help others as like support net. Today you're doing okay, you can help someone else. Just as it happened with the mosque of my mother. If somebody was like not having a good time, the rest of the community will help that person, would unite all of the efforts to help them. And I would like to do the other, that same dynamic, but just because of the sake of someone else's well-being. If I could, I will try to do that, like a support net between many people. And I would love to share knowledge and maybe data, and maybe if there's people who knows more than I do and study it like for 7 years of their life, might as well we can listen to that person and we can share that information in a understandable, economic, concrete way, like informing and also helping with concrete actions, not only with good intentions, but with knowledge and actions. That's Quetzalcoatl, which is a deity I talked about yesterday.
Yeah, cool. You. Yeah, that sounds very good. And also, you talked about knowledge and sharing data and information with people that can't access it that easy. And I also think that education is one of the biggest or most important things we have to share in this world. Education is key for so many things.
Yes.
And I struggle with the school system, which is in most countries of the world is pretty much the same. And I don't agree with the things in it. What's your opinion on the school system? And if there's something you could change, or is there a subject that you think why don't they implement this at school? Is anything coming up in your mind with what you would do?
Yes, I know it's cliche, but philosophy.
No, it's absolutely, it's not cliche. I think it's very important.
I think philosophy saved my life, and we need more ethicists in our lives to understand what ethics are, and how to deal with dilemmas in our daily basis. And if you get to learn how to reflect on your life, to put it into action, always knowledge into action, then it's gonna help you. And also philosophy can help you a lot to have critical thinking. And it would be good also to mix it with empathy, critical thinking, empathy, and the ability to question, why are you here? If you do not know why, then what are you going to do with that amazing moment you have now that it's your life? As I think there's this thing in French, la perte du monde, which is the idea that we already lost the world. We cannot save it. But what we can do is take this precious time we have on Earth and do something about it. So everything is lost. You do not have to do anything. You mustn't do anything. You are free to be whatever. What are you choosing to do? I think that's philosophy, and we should be all talk that thing and share it, and have hard conversations in a I don't know how to call it, in a good manner, listen and learn and be humble, and also know that your voice has importance in this world. That's it.
Listening and learning from each other is key for personal development and success.
Yes.
Finish up with our slogan now, but seriously, that was really great. I'm very impressed, and I think this is very important. Those conversations and this information you're sharing here is truly inspiring and truly meaningful. And I'm very grateful for your time that you took today to speak to me, to us, and to all the listeners out there. And I thank you for your time. I said enough, and I want to give the final words to you. So thank you from my side, and whatever you'd like to say in the end, it's up to you.
As Rodriguez, a great musician, said once, so thanks for your time. I can thank you for mine, and after all that said, forget it. He's amazing, listen to him.